The Geet Ruler episode number 90 explanation. This was an extremely majestic large hall, with hundreds of gigantic pillars that appeared to rise towards the cusps of the heavens. Green vines covered their surfaces as the entire giant hall appeared to be constructed with giant-sized wood pieces. Faint rays of brilliance sparkled from these giant wood pieces, causing the entire giant hall to appear incomparably strong and sturdy. Due to the large hall being too overly majestic, everyone present within appeared akin to ants, giving all of them a small and weak feeling. Therefore, although there were already a dozen groups converged within this giant hall, it still appeared incomparably empty and spacious. Bang! In the empty space in the hall, two powerful groups were already engaging in an intense exchange. The strength of these two groups could be considered to rank at the top level. Therefore, once they had started crossing hands, none of the other groups dared to have the slightest intent to head in. Furthermore, such a confrontation between these two powers was something they were delighted to see. After all, this would allow for more opportunities for themselves, if one of them were to get eliminated. Boom! Exceedingly rampant spiritual energies swept out akin to tidal waves, with the source of the spiritual energy ripples being two figures intertwining with each other. One of the figures was precisely Tang Maya. At this moment, her originally alluringly beautiful face appeared ice-cold, while boundless spiritual energy rippled around her. Sounds akin to those made by tidal waves resounded as her spiritual energy fluctuations caused even the air to be compressed to the point of creaking and groaning. Before Tang Maya was Xia Hu, presently with a faint smile on his face and his hands behind his back. Even when faced with the swift and fierce attacks coming from Tang Maya, he still had a calm and unhurried expression on his face. "Ha ha, Captain Tang Maya. There's no need to be that aggressive, right? If we're to just start fighting like that, it wouldn't be considered rational to you all, am I right?" said Xia Hu as he sent a faint smile towards Tang Maya. Sending a chilling glare back with her beautiful eyes, Tang Maya gave a sneer and replied, "Weren't you acting very formidable just moments before, Xia Hu? Come and have a good fight with me now. Even if I'm unable to defeat you, I won't let you guys have the slightest bit of an easy time. At that time, I really want to see exactly how you are going to contend with the other groups for the treasure of this remnant." Tang Maya knew that Xia Hu was stronger than her. If he was to really take action against her, she would definitely not be able to defeat him. Nevertheless, not one shred of intent of wanting to obtain victory was present in her thoughts, since what she wanted to do was to create an obstruction for Xia Hu. She was completely willing to return empty-handed from this journey of this remnant than to let Xia Hu and his group get any bit of harvest. When a woman gets infuriated, she wouldn't start talking about gains and loses, as well as rationality, to you. Hearing her words, Xia Hu's gaze turned somewhat darker. He never imagined that Tang Maya would be furious to the point of actually not doing any thinking at all and just wanting to obstruction himself. He could not help feeling slightly regretful about this. If he had known about her reaction, he would not recklessly take action against her. From the looks of it, this girl appeared alluring and soul-stirring. Yet, he never imagined that she would be infuriated to the point of turning back to thinking with her temper. However, not being an indecisive or irresolute person himself, Xia Hu quickly quelled this little bit of regret within himself. Glaring coldly at Tang Maya, he said, "Captain Tang Maya. Although I've backed away numerous times, I still have to caution you about making the right choices. Don't force me to use brute force to destroy a flower." "Ha ha. Let me see you really doing it," replied Tang Maya with a gurgling laugh. With a clench of her hand, a scarlet-red long whip appeared. Scorching hot spiritual energy fluctuations radiated from its surface. Clearly, this was a spiritual weapon that possessed outstanding might. Pa! With a tremble of her hand, the long whip transformed into a ray of red light. Splitting apart the air at lightning speed, it appeared just like a furious python, flinging heavily towards Xia Hu. HMPH. Seeing such an overbearing stance taken by Tang Maya, a shadow of fury flashed within Xia Hu's eyes. Gem-like rays of luster sparkled on the surface of his slender and jade-like palm as he made a grabbing action. Seemingly piercing through nihility, he had unexpectedly made a grab for the scarlet-red ray of brilliance that was heading his way. In the next instant, taking a step out, spiritual energy vigorously rippled from behind him like a tidal wave as an astonishing spiritual energy pressure radiated from him, causing the faces of the numerous groups present in the large hall to slightly change. The density of the spiritual energy possessed by the people that had passed their spiritual energy tribulations far surpassed those who had only passed their human body disaster. Grabbing onto the scarlet-red long whip, Xiaohu gave a tap of his feet, causing his figure to appear before Tang Maya in the next instant, like a spectre, before sending a palm smashing out. At this moment, chilling rays of light sparkled from his white jade-like palm as it radiated with killing intent. Seeing this, a shadow of solemnness flashed within Tang Maya's beautiful eyes as spiritual energy erupted from her body without the slightest restraint. At this moment, a flower pattern seemed to surface on her jade-like palm as a massive flower with petals condensed from spiritual energy took form. Flower Destruction Palm. Bang! As the two palms smashed against one another, rampant spiritual energies swept out akin to a storm. A shudder shook through Tang Maya's body as a smear of a bloodstain surfaced at the corner of her mouth while she was sent shooting back. Although she had experienced the spiritual energy tribulation before, she had failed to pass it in the end. Therefore, the density of her spiritual energy wasn't able to match up to what Xiaohu possessed. As Tang Maya was sent flying back, a chilling glint flashed across Xiaohu's eyes. Clearly, he didn't plan to have the slightest intent of having any restraint against the opposite sex. Taking a step out, he pursued her flying figure, sending yet another palm straight towards Tang Maya's voluptuous chest. Seeing this, Tang Maya could only clench her teeth while attempting to engage in combat with that fellow. However, just as she was about to summon her spiritual energy, an overbearing whoosh suddenly rang out from behind her, before an incomparably swift and fierce shadow spear howled straight towards Xiaohu's throat. A dark shadow instantly surfaced in Xiaohu's eyes as the direction of his palm winds changed. Patting towards the shadow spear, he smashed it apart before retreating back and darkly staring towards his front. At this moment, a thin figure had shot forward, extending his arm to clutch onto Tang Maya's slender waist while aiding her in dispelling the force sending her flying back. Giving a faint smile, he said, "Captain Xiaohu. When faced with such a beautiful girl, it's still the best to be tender and show restraint." Mu Chen. As Xiaohu chillingly stared towards the person that interfered, killing intent flashed within his eyes. "Are you all right, elder sister Maya?" Lowering his head to look towards the alluring girl within his bosom, Mu Chen noticed the latter wiping away the blood stain at the corner of her mouth. The bright color of her scarlet-red blood caused the sexiness of her lips to slightly increase, while she gave a sweet smile and replied, "Mu Chen, compared to that fellow, you truly are more pleasing to your elder sis eyes." Hearing her reply, Mu Chen had turned speechless. She still has the heart to harass me at this very moment. Four beautiful girls of Tang Maya's group shot over, landing beside Mu Chen. Only upon seeing that Tang Maya didn't suffer an overly serious injury did they take a breath of relief. Bracing herself while in Mu Chen's bosom, she pushed her voluptuous and exquisite figure slightly away from him, before clenching her teeth and saying in a somewhat unresigned manner, "Truly, that fellow's formidable. His strength at the realm of spiritual energy tribulation truly made him extremely hard to be dealt with." Mu Chen nodded his head, before retreating a step back and releasing her. At this moment, Luo Li, Xu Huang and the others rapidly shot over, before sending gazes filled with ill intent towards Xiaohu standing not far in the front. Mu Chen shot a look at Xiaohu, before turning his gaze around to size up this giant hall. Giant wooden pillars that appeared to prop up the heavens were present within this giant hall, supporting it. Under those giant wooden pillars, Mu Chen and all of the people present here appeared exceedingly small and tiny. At this moment, there were already a dozen groups that had converged within this giant hall, with the majority being not too weak in terms of strength. After all, being able to pass through the various areas that could have eliminated them from the competition should mean that they possessed some ability. This should be the main hall of the remnant. Tang Maya said in a soft voice, "Look to your front." Hearing that, Mu Chen raised his head to look straight in front of him. Presently, at the end of his sight, was a rapidly approximately 100 meters tall. Present in a green shadow, the appearance of the statue appeared to have the same look as the greenish wooden statue that they had bumped into earlier. However, the two were clearly not of the same level in terms of size. At this moment, a dark greenish armor seemed to be draped on the body of his giant wooden statue. Countless ancient patterns seemed to cover the entirety of its surface, while it sparkled with dim rays of brilliance. This seemed to be an armor created out of wood. Other than the armor, there seemed to be a wooden plaque held in the hand of this dark greenish wooden statue. Complicated inscriptions were carved on its surface, causing it to appear incomparably abstruse, with it giving people a strange and mysterious feeling upon seeing it. The armor draped on the statue should be a spiritual tool, with the possibility of reaching the realm of peerless rank spiritual artifacts, said Tang Maya in a low voice. Oh! Hearing that, Mu Chen's eyes jumped. He was extremely clear about the might possessed by a peerless rank spiritual artifact. Such might was sufficient in raising one's strength by a notch. Furthermore, this appeared to be a defensive type. If one was able to get it into one's hands, one's ability to endure a beating would be even more tyrannical than people that have passed their human body disaster. There's also that wooden plaque. There's an extremely high possibility that inscriptions carved on its surface are a type of divine technique. Divine technique? Hearing that, Mu Chen's eyelids immediately twitched. Naturally, he knew what a divine technique was, as he possessed one which was known by the name of lightning controlling technique, that was taught to him by the Northern Sea Dragon, something that Mu Chen had not once used since his arrival in these competition grounds. However, with something like a divine technique being able to even move the hearts of sovereign realm experts, how could it not do so in them? Looks like this should be the central location of this remnant. Mu Chen muttered within his heart, before sweeping his sight around. Other than Xie Hu's group, he discovered that the group from the Martial Spiritual Academy was also present here. However, at this moment, a crazed expression was present on the face of Zhu Yuan as he continued to size up the somewhat foreign groups present here in an attempt to find the mysterious group that had ambushed them earlier. Of the groups present here, the only one that was a threat to them would be Xie Hu. Licking his lips, Mu Chen exchanged a glance with Tang Maya, before gently nodding his head. Giving a lovely smile, Tang Maya proceeded to send a knife-like glare towards Xie Hu. Noticing her gaze, Xie Hu's expression abruptly turned cold as he noticed Mu Chen lightly making a hand signal. In the next instant, the members of the two groups fanned out as they dispersed, while all of their gazes being locked onto the bodies of his group. Clearly, Mu Chen and Tang Maya were currently collaborating. Upon seeing this, vibrations shook through the hearts of the dozen of groups present in this giant hall. The group from the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy has actually collaborated with the Myriad Phoenix Spiritual Academy to deal with the Saint Spiritual Academy. There seemed to be a good show to watch. However, no one knew exactly if this collaboration would be able to deal with the exceedingly cutthroat group of Xie Hu. An intense atmosphere filled the large hall as Mu Chen and Tang Maya locked their gazes onto Xie Hu's figure. As chilling intent was gushing from their eyes, boundless spiritual energy started to undulate from their bodies, warping and distorting the space around them. If the groups were to be compared to their own, Xie Hu's group was undoubtedly the strongest. However, if Mu Chen's group and Tang Maya's group were to join forces, they would no longer be in a disadvantageous position against Xie Hu's group. At that time, if an all-out brawl was to start, it would be difficult to tell exactly which side would come out on top. The other groups that were scattered around the large hall watched on with heated gazes. They knew that these groups from 3 from the 5 great spiritual academies would not hold back when fighting. Once it began, the intensity of their fight would definitely exceed their expectations. As the other groups watched on, Xie Hu darkly stared at Mu Chen and Tang Maya. A moment later, he said in an indifferent tone, "It seems like you two intend to join forces against my Saint Spiritual Academy." Hearing his words, Tang Maya retorted with a charming laugh, what about it? Could it be that Captain Xie Hu, who just loves to take advantage of others' misfortune, is finally feeling wronged? Simply giving a chilling grin in reply, an expression of ridicule flashed across Xie Hu's face as he replied, "You can't be thinking that by joining forces, you'll be a threat to us. You aren't the only one here with backup." Hearing this statement, Tang Maya's expression froze, before immediately turning around to face the group from the Martial Spiritual Academy. After all, among all the groups present, only the group from another one of the 5 great spiritual academies could pose a threat. Zhu Yuan, who had been carefully sizing up the other groups in his surroundings, was also startled by Xie Hu's reply. Furrowing his brows, he stared right back at Xie Hu. The only thing on my mind, right now, is to find the group that killed my comrade. I can't be bothered to join in with you all. Upon hearing this, Xie Hu simply gave a somewhat ambiguous smile in return. Ha ha, Captain Xie Hu should be referring to us, am I right? A soft laughter abruptly rang out, echoing in the large hall. Everyone's expression changed as they quickly turned towards its source. 5 shadowy figures had appeared at the humongous entrance of the large hall, and the leader of that group was exactly the black-robed youth with the pale white face, laughing as he swept his gaze over the crowd in the hall. Mu Chen glanced at this group, and his expression froze. This was the same mysterious group as the one they had crossed hands with earlier. Trash, you've finally shown up. Just as everyone noticed this group, Zhu Yuan had let out a roar and explosively shot forward with a crazed look in his eyes. His broken mountain pole exploded through the air, carrying a frightening amount of force as he viciously swung it down on the black-robed youth. Captain Zhu Yuan is really impulsive. The black-robed youth chuckled, swinging a palm out in response. Torrents of green spiritual power swept forth, forming a huge palm that was withered and solid, just like the bark of an ancient tree. Boom! The huge wooden palm heavily collided with the broken mountain pole, and rampant spiritual energy waves spontaneously spread out. Bang! As the spiritual energy attacks collided, Zhu Yuan's body trembled, before fresh blood spurted from the hand grasping onto his weapon, and his figure miserably flew backwards. The ferocity that was present in his eyes earlier had been replaced by shock. This black-robed youth had actually passed his spiritual energy disaster. Crash! Shocked voices rang out throughout the large hall, as the other group stared at the mysterious group. The young leader of the group had actually reached a level comparable to Xie Hu. Mu Chen furrowed his brow as his expression froze. In the brief exchange he had earlier with the black-robed youth, the latter had no intention to have an all-out fight, and hence did not display his full strength. However, in this moment, he did not hold back, thoroughly demonstrating his full ability. These scoundrels! Zhu Yuan hastily retreated, with his groupmates supporting him. Even though his anger had not waned, the shock he experienced had pulled him out from his mindless rage. They had lost a groupmate after being attacked by this mysterious group, but with just a single move, he clearly understood that he stood no chance against them in a head-on clash. A strange atmosphere had permeated the large hall ever since this mysterious group appeared. Ha ha, my name is Zhenqing, from the Wood Spiritual Academy. The black-robed youth grinned at the other groups scattered around the large hall, before his gaze stopped on Mu Chen, and he cupped his hands in greeting. So, Xie Hu, it seems that you've already been in cahoots with them, huh? Planning to join forces and wipe out the rest of us? Tang Maya gave a cold laugh. However, even if you do so, there are still so many other groups here. The situation had changed too quickly. While Tang Maya and Mu Chen's group had originally held an overwhelming advantage over Xie Hu's group, the appearance of the tyrannical group from the Wood Spiritual Academy completely reversed the situation. With 2 experts who had passed their spiritual energy disaster, they had an extremely frightening lineup. Xie Hu stared at Tang Maya with a glint in his eye. While she appeared delicate and charming, her tone and words did nothing to hide her anger, nor her intentions. With a single statement, she had caused all the other groups to start taking precautions against Xie Hu's group. After all, if they joined forces with the group from the Wood Spiritual Academy, their strength would be off the charts. Ha ha, Captain Tang's words sure are vicious. Not bothering to wait for Xie Hu to respond, Zhenqing replied with a cold smirk filled with ridicule and disdain. Sizing up the other groups present in the large hall, he murmured, "Indeed, I want to take down all of you. All the treasures in this ancient ruins belong to us, including those in your grubby hands." Boom! All the groups were shocked upon hearing this proclamation, before red-hot fury rose within their eyes. With such a large appetite, wasn't the Wood Spiritual Academy group afraid of biting off more than they could chew? Even with their frightening strength after joining forces with Xie Hu, there was no way they could beat an alliance formed from every other group present. Is this fellow dumb, or what? Mu Chen furrowed his brows. Zhenqing couldn't be this reckless, right? He turned to meet Luo Li's gaze, only to see that they were both guarded against the situation. While they did not know much about Zhenqing, it was impossible for a Moran to become a captain of a group. Having made such a proclamation, he had to have some sort of backing, but just what sort of backing would give him such confidence to look down on everyone with such disdain? Such ambition, Captain Zhenqing. But are you sure that you have the ability to take on every one of us? Laughing, Tang Maya turned to face the rest of the groups. Looks like you all are worth less than ants to him. All the groups wore nasty expressions on their faces. Glaring directly at Zhenqing, spiritual energy started to revolve in their bodies. At this moment, Zhenqing had undoubtedly become public enemy number 1. HMPH, you want to take down all of us? Come. We'll see just how capable you are. Finally unable to hold back, some groups shouted, while the rest echoed in agreement. The groups slowly spread out around the large hall. With a large number of groups, it truly was a powerful lineup. However, Zhenqing simply gave a smirk filled with ridicule, before lifting his palm. With a flash of green light, an ancient leaf-like talisman appeared in his palm, flickering with an emerald green glow. Mu Chen's eyes narrowed upon seeing that talisman. This was the item that Zhenqing had snatched away earlier. Forming a seal with one hand, Zhenqing snapped his fingers. A green light shot from his hand, darting across the large hall with a frightening speed, before landing on the enormous wooden statue at the other end of the large hall under the countless shocked gazes. Swish! The leaf-like talisman implanted itself in the forehead of the enormous statue, as rays of light spread out from the talisman, diffusing throughout the body of the statue. As the light rays enveloped the statue, Tang Maya and the rest had an ugly expression on their faces. Before their very eyes, the enormous wooden statue slowly opened its eyes. A rich green glow shone from those two eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, now, I shall tell you just how I'm going to wipe the floor with you. Zhenqing's smirk became increasingly disdainful. Forming seals with his hands, boundless spiritual energy started undulating out, as the wooden statue started to mirror his seals. An extremely astonishing spiritual energy ripple started to spread across the large hall. Stop him! Mu Chen wore a grave expression as he roared. Both Luo Li and him seemed to have simultaneously charged forward. Ha ha, it's too late. Zhenqing chuckled and shook his head, before his seals froze. His dark voice reverberated around the large hall. Myriad realm. As his voice rang out, the entire hall violently trembled. All of a sudden, green light erupted from the enormous pillars in the hall, before innumerable vines exploded forth, hiding the sky and covering the earth. Within the span of a few breaths, the entire hall had been thoroughly permeated with the vines. Ugly expressions flashed across everyone's faces. Attempting to escape, they discovered that there was nowhere to run, as the vines flooded over, submerging figure after figure. Boom! Boom! Within the mass of vines, some individuals frantically revolved their spiritual energy, attempting to slice through the vines. However, they immediately discovered that despite appearing to be fragile and weak, the vines could not be broken regardless of how hard they tried. Also, the spiritual energy in their bodies was apparently being devoured as the vines squirmed around them. The originally noisy hall had now become silent. Apart from Zhenqing's and Xiaohu's group, everyone else, including Mu Chen and Luo Li, had been entirely enveloped by the green light vines. Within the vines, all that could be seen were pairs of eyes filled with dread and fear. With no way to escape, all they could do was watch as the vines simply devoured their spiritual energy. Phew! Witnessing this scene, Zhenqing coldly laughed. Once you're trapped in the Myriad realm, there's no way to break free, and your spiritual energy will be slowly consumed and used to awaken this divine wood guard. Captain Xiaohu, I will take all the treasures in these ruins. As for the points, an even split. What do you think? We shall do as you suggest. Xiaohu chuckled as he nodded with a glint in his eye. Zhenqing's appetite truly was ravenous, with no intention to leave even a single treasure for his group. However, with the strength that the latter currently possessed, there was not much room for debate. For someone like Zhenqing, it seemed like the only thing preventing him from acting against Xiaohu's group was the fear of Saint Spiritual Academy's strength and ability. Zhenqing nodded, beaming in response, satisfied with Xiaohu's tactfulness. Next, we only need to wait for an hour, and this place will be entirely under our control. HMPH, 3 of the great academies, their teams will be eliminated. Chengqing sat down with a smile. Suddenly, his expression turned ugly as he spun around, staring at 2 particular squirming vines. A frightening heat and a sharp sword aura were sweeping out from within the vines. Bang! A purple flame burst forth, and the clump of squirming vines simply turned into ashes with a poof. Swish! A resplendent sword light swept forth. Before its incomparably sharp edge, even these vines, made with such special materials, were sliced into fine dust. Chengqing and Xie Hu looked up with grave expressions, as the many pairs of eyes trapped within the massive vines also hurriedly looked over. Under the countless gazes, a slender youth and a beautiful lady slowly walked out from the rays of light. Chengqing's eyes narrowed, before he heartily laughed. Impressive, even the Myriad Wood realm is unable to trap you. Within the vine-encased giant hall, numerous gazes converged on the source of the brilliant rays of light while varying expressions appeared on the faces of the people looking over. Over there, 2 figures had sliced apart the vines and escaped the fetters binding them before appearing before the numerous gazes shooting over. As the rays of brilliance dissipated away, the figures of Mu Chen and Luo Li finally appeared clearly from within. Clap clap. Looking at the 2 who had extricated themselves, the eyes of Chengqing contracted slightly. However, giving a laugh, he gently clapped his hands and spoke out with a smile. Never did I expect that even the Myriad Wood realm is unable to hold you all in. You 2 truly are formidable. At this moment, those vines appeared rather strange and mysterious, being able to even constrain human body disaster experts within them to the point of them being unable to decisively extricate themselves. Furthermore, the spiritual energies within their bodies would be gradually devoured as food by the vines, with them becoming more ferocious the more one struggled while in them, while also causing one's spiritual energy dissipation to grow increasingly quick. Mu Chen and Luo Li being able to extricate themselves was something that was clearly somewhat accidental for Chengqing. Looks like these 2 people should have some unique methods of their own. Nevertheless, it was merely just that. The situation before him was completely under his control. With their 2 groups holding ground over here, even if Mu Chen and Luo were able to extricate themselves, what could they do? A chilling gaze shot out from Mu Chen as he glared at Chengqing, while black lightning arcs sparkled across his fingertips. Looks like you've yet to give up and admit your loss, huh? Xie Hu gave a faint laugh as he shot a mocking look towards Mu Chen and Luo Li. In the next moment, he pointed towards the interior of the giant hall before speaking out with a smile. However, what else can you 2 do? Mu Chen, why not I give you a chance? If you leave by yourself, I'll give you a means to survive. How about that? At this moment, his smile appeared somewhat execrable. If Mu Chen were to abandon his compatriots and flee by himself, he would be ostracized by the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy in the light of this. Such a result would be even more cruel and vicious than killing him, just like what had happened to Qiu Beihai in the past. Sweeping his gaze to shoot a look at Xie Hu, Mu Chen gave a smile, shaking his head before replying, Xie Hu, I'm afraid that you don't have the qualifications to use this method against me. Hearing Mu Chen's reply, Xie Hu immediately gave a soft laugh. However, at this moment, the smile present on his face showed not one bit of warmth. Planning his head across slightly, he looked towards Chengqing and spoke out while massaging his head, he truly is a irksome fellow. Looks like I have to show him exactly how strong is a person of spiritual energy disaster is. I'm alright with that. An amused smile rose at the corner of Chengqing's mouth, as the situation before him was already completely under his control. At this moment, he only had to awaken the numerous spiritual energies within the wooden divine guard. Therefore, he didn't mind spending this time to observe the good show playing out before him. At this moment, he didn't care too much about Mu Chen. Although the latter was of heavenly completion stage late phase and possessed such astonishing combat prowess, so what? Regardless of that, he was still of heavenly completion stage late phase. Regardless of how many cards he was able to pull out from his sleeves, it would extremely hard-pressed for him to obtain victory against an expert of spiritual energy disaster. This little beauty. When they take action, my eyes will be on you. I hope that you'll not stir up trouble. Although you're the most heart-stirring girl I've seen in these past few years, for the sake of the entire situation, I'll not show too much mercy towards the other gender, said Zhenqing as he shot a grin towards Luo Li. Shooting a slightly cold look towards him with her beautiful eyes, Luo Li turned her head towards Mu Chen, who had sent a smile back while gently nodding his head. Only upon seeing this did Luo Li take 2 steps back and took a seat down. Continuing to grasp the Luotian sword in her hand, she inserted into the ground before her, causing a wave of a sword cry erupting out, before rays of sword glow perfused out. Such fierceness was present in this sword glow that the surrounding space was even being sliced up into tiny and minute fissures, with layer upon layer of vines in the surrounding being sliced apart. Under the sword glow, all of the vines within a few meter radius around Luo Li were completely sliced cleanly into bits. Under the envelope of the sword glow, even the unique Myriad wood realm within his giant hall was unable to encroach over Luo Li. Since you guys want to play, we'll accompany you guys to the end. However, similarly, I will send this back to you. This is a fight between the two of them. If anyone interferes, the sword within my hand might be completely unsheathed. At that time, even I wouldn't be able to know the outcome that occurs. However, Zhenqing, at the very least, you will die to my sword, said Luo Li as she swept her glass-like clear eyes towards Zhenqing and his group, while her voice sounded soft, yet bringing out some chilling intent. Noticing the Luotian sword before Luo Li, the faces of Zhenqing and his group violently contorted as they could sense extremely dangerous fluctuations radiating from its surface. That's actually a divine artifact. Zhenqing exchanged glances with Xie Hu as their pupils contracted slightly. Never did they imagine that the beautiful girl before their eyes would actually possess a genuine divine weapon. Although her cultivation seemed only be of human body disaster, coupled with his divine sword, even people of spiritual energy disaster would feel extreme fear and dread in the light of her. This young girl was even more dangerous as compared to Mu Chen. With the great 1,000 worlds, anything with the 2 words divine weapon attached to their name would absolutely possess extreme awe and intimidation. Although there were also divine weapons within the Wood Spirit clan, such things would absolutely not find their way to Zhenqing's hands. Therefore, upon noticing that Luo Li actually possessed a divine weapon, Zhenqing could not help but to quietly feel shocked and astonished. Looks like you truly have some confidence in Mu Chen, his eyes flashing faintly. Zhenqing suppressed the shock within his heart as he shot a deep look at Luo Li before speaking out. With Luo Li sitting there and using the awe and intimidation caused by her divine sword, Luo Li had clearly indicated her motive in helping Mu Chen sweep of any interference. This was clearly due to her being exceedingly confident with Mu Chen. She believed that the latter would be able to defeat Xie Hu. However, did she truly believe that Xie Hu was an affable person? One of the 4 great holy sons of the Saint Spiritual Academy and possessing a cultivation of spiritual energy disaster. Placed within the entirety of the Great Spiritual Academy competition, he would absolutely be ranked among the best. In a one-on-one duel with him, if not for having some special methods, even Zhenqing wouldn't have the confidence of defeating Xie Hu, what more Mu Chen, whose cultivation was only of heavenly completion stage late phase. However, could it be that he still had a way? In response, Luo Li only shot a look at him, not caring any more than that as she held her Luotian sword in her hand. As her jade-like fingers gently touched the sword, clear cries rang out from it. Upon seeing this, Zhenqing gave a faint smile without speaking any more, merely that killing intent started to erupt within his heart. There were some unexpected changes to the situation which was under his control. Nevertheless, it didn't matter. As long as Xie Hu dealt with Mu Chen, when they collaborate, even Luo Li would be absolutely hard-pressed to turn the situation around even with the divine weapon in her hand. Zhenqing turned his sights towards Xie Hu only to see a malevolent smile curling up at the corner of the latter's mouth. From the looks of it, she seems to be exceedingly confident towards Mu Chen, huh? Nevertheless, would she still be able to maintain such confidence towards the latter after he stomps Mu Chen under his feet? Within the giant hall, Tang Maya, Zhu Yuan, and the various other groups were trapped within the vines. Regardless of their full efforts in their struggles, they were unable to obtain not the slightest results in freeing themselves. Therefore, they could only give up in their attempts, casting their gazes through the vines to observe the situation developing within the giant hall. At this moment, shades of worry and concern appeared within their eyes, as at this very moment, they basically could only rely on Mu Chen and Luo Li to reverse the situation they were in. However, they were after all two people only. Before their eyes, Mu Chen had clearly wanted to take genuine action against Xie Hu. Although they were clear that Mu Chen's combat prowess couldn't be estimated using conventional means, regardless of that, Xie Hu had genuinely passed his spiritual energy disaster. Faced against him, even Tang Maya and Zhu Yuan didn't have the slightest confidence of winning. What could Mu Chen do? Furthermore, by the off chance that Mu Chen lost to Xie Hu, the awe and intimidation that Luo Li had painfully created in this situation would be shattered apart. When that happens, even with the divine sword in her hand, it will be exceedingly hard-pressed for her to deal with the two tyrannical groups by herself. From the looks of it, everything now banked on the shoulders of Mu Chen. As gazes converged over from within the giant hall, Mu Chen slowly exhaled a clump of white air. Looking towards Xie Hu, with a malevolent sneer at the corner of his mouth, he gave a faint smile and said, "To not disappoint her, it looks like I have to deal with you." Hearing those words, Xie Hu laughed out, with his smile turning chilly. At this moment, crystalline rays of brilliance sparkled from his slender and pale hands, causing them to appear exceedingly gorgeous. Yet, under this facade of gorgeousness was a death-like chill. "Looks like that short exchange we had outside of the dark forest had given you too much false confidence." Slowly clenching his hands, the expression on Xie Hu's face grew increasingly cold. In the next instant, taking a furious step forwards, dense, boundless spiritual energy akin to a large sea swept out, hiding the skies and covering the earth. At the same time, an astonishing spiritual energy pressure instantly perfused across the entire giant hall. At this moment, he had completely unleashed his spiritual energy disaster realm spiritual energy without the slightest restraint at all. That's because he already did not want to continue seeing Mu Chen be that indifferent and boastful in front of himself. He wanted to use his spiritual energy disaster realm spiritual energy to violently crush the latter beneath his feel. He wanted to let him know in despair that when faced with the tyrannical power of a spiritual energy disaster expert, he would become as pitiful as a rabbit locked on by a mighty lion, with him not being able to put up even an ounce of resistance. "Now, I'll crush that so-called self-confidence into a pile of mess." The smile at the corner of Xie Hu's mouth turned incomparably malevolent. Boundless spiritual energy howled out as wave of pressures gushed out, causing Mu Chen's robes to flap and flutter about. Taking a deep breath, Mu Chen clenched his fists tightly as the glow of black lightning sparkled from the surface of his body. At this moment, his skin started to turn jet black, while four lightning runes slowly surfaced on his chest. Bang! Black lightning glow crackled as they enveloped the entirety of Mu Chen's body. His lightning god's physique had been completely brought forth, with the spiritual energy within his body now gushing about within his meridians like a bubbling river. His body had entered into his greatest combat state. "If you want to play, I'll accompany you. Let's see exactly who's the one that's incapable of playing." Fiercely chilling rays of brilliance condensed within Mu Chen's black pupils like the sharp edge of a blade. With a chilling laugh, he took an abrupt stride out. Bang! Lightning glow seemed to exploded out from beneath his feet. As black lightning arcs sparkled, his figure exploded forward in an instant. Boom! With a sneer, Xie Hu had shot forwards in an instant. Like a sea, dense spiritual energy gushed and surged forth, causing even the surrounding air to be compressed to the point of exploding apart. The tense and taut atmosphere within the giant hall was shattered at this instant. Everyone's gaze converged over at this moment. This episode ends here. Thank you for watching.